capitalistic measures, but are actually quite obtained quite well also in the absence of these structures. So from this point of view, we can take free software to be a case study against this alleged connection of production and development and profit and authority. So it sort of supports the claim that a society which would not be based on capitalistic and hierarchical ordering would still be productive, and probably even more so if you look at the rate in which free software development actually takes place in comparison to the industrial developmental pattern. So free software actually is politically valuable, but just as a case study for this specific kind of argument, but I wouldn't take it to be political in itself, and I wouldn't take the whole discussion about it to be so very revolutionary after all, because it really happens just in a very tiny space somewhere. So yeah, this is my judgment of free software basically, and now what I wanted to add were some additional ideas for anarchical computing, which can be obtained from sort of as a lesson from this judgment and from within this theory of anarchist technology. One idea, of course, would be to further liberate free software by abandoning rules and implicit hierarchies and all these things. So to throw away Creative Commons, throw away GPL and all that stuff, and throw away all these implicit hierarchies, who and do's and don'ts, and just do things, you know. And even if they're illegal, then still just do them, you know. I mean, who's going to stop you? Another point would be to actually make programs and programming a lot easier, so really everyone can participate, and not only programmers and specialists, you know, like unexpertise these things, to really make them accessible to people. Because you cannot sensibly speak that really everyone can access these and everyone can participate in this process if you really have to have a very sophisticated education. So that would be a point. Another point would be to actually write free machine software which would work on machines which are specific production machines which can be used by smaller communities, and to free them from company dependence. This would also be a program, for instance, for third world countries who often obtain these sorts of technologies, mostly from Siemens, but then these technologies have such sophisticated software that they really have a lifelong dependence on these companies to maintain the software and everything. So this would really be some very concrete thing where some free software would have entirely different value in comparison to our free entertainment software, more or less. Then another point, of course, which has been sketched also a number of times, I believe already, is to actually design free hardware. Of course, this does not mean to be free hardware in a sense of gratis, but in this Stallman sense, like free as in free speech and not in free beer, that it has to be patent-free, that really technological designers should take time and design things, design technology, and give them out patent-free, and give the designs out so really people and smaller communities can build these technologies. And these, of course, could then embody anarchical principles and promote actually the construction of anarchical communities and independence of the bigger companies. So that would be also a point where one could be producing the much rather anarchical technology. And then the last point, which I find particularly interesting, is to design sabotage software and devices which enable people to sabotage surrounding technologies, which often medialize power structures which they do not approve of. This would be some sort of enable people to hack, you know, very generally everyone. And this is a concept which I'm trying to work on a little in my current research, and in how far sabotage and actually the distribution of sabotage software and sabotage devices could be some sort of action to liberate people from this technological determinism. Because if you would put up like design plans, how to design sabotage devices, and if you would put up sabotage software to sabotage voting computers or to sabotage biometrical passports and everything, you would enable the people to get rid of these inherent necessities of the machines that surround them, because they could simply switch them off again. And that would, of course, be a great help for these to just try and get out of these inherent necessities and gain control of them again. Especially when they're being introduced in political and social contexts, and this is, of course, something which is happening right now in all this anti-terrorism stuff. So that would allow people to demedialize power structures around them insofar as they are incorporated into technologies, and this would give people more choices towards technological determinism in general. And I also believe that this could be a very good action in a way if one would do it officially and officially give out sabotage devices and sabotage ideas, because then that has a very strong and substantial demonstrative value and sort of puts us into the defense, because then the judicial game, of course, would be that others would have to attack this idea of sabotaging power structure technologies, and so the standpoint would be much better for discussion, and so this has some value as social protest as well. Yes. Yeah, and these were just some ideas on the end of my talk of something which I'm thinking of currently, and this is it. Thank you. Now I'm open for questions. So any questions?
Oh yeah, thank you for the very interesting talk. At the beginning, you were saying that free software is mainly developed by hobbyists and people who do that in their free time. While I believe that was true up to 5 years ago, I think you should know that currently most free software is developed by people who get paid for it. I mean, IBM and Sun Microsystem, just to quote a few names, and my employer, actually pay people to develop free software, and I think most of the free software now is developed by those companies. So of course that means that free software is even less anarchical today, I believe.
Oh yes, thank you. That's a good comment, actually.
I just wanted to say, the thing you called the so-called rule of this copyleft GPL stuff, it's not my opinion. I think a different way. I think that GPL is it's a quite good weapon against the thing that you have been swallowed. You've been swallowed by companies. You're swallowed by capitalism. Because the open source movement, it's a quite little one when you compare it against global players. So you need protection, and this is a kind of weapon. So it's more a weapon than a rule.
My point of view on this thing is that really you cannot use certain weapons without becoming your own enemy. This is like as soon as you start playing this license game and playing the legal game and everything, you are again affirming you're affirming the general structures and the basic structures which made you a captive in the first place. So really, from an anarchist and rather revolutionary point of view, you would say that this is just a totally wrong way to do it, because this is a corruptive system which has been invented to corrupt all these things, and which again now in turn turns on you, and to derive, so to say, a counter-revolution, a counter-system to this license stuff by introducing new licenses, it's just rubbish from my point of view. I'm really not...
Hi, I would like to expand on this point of criticism. You said earlier that destroying sexism and racism and capitalism was a strong point of anarchism, and I agree with that. And the rules that GPL sets up is certain rules to protect our individual freedom, so that no one could take that away from you, me, you, for example. as our rules against racism in society protects all the weak people who don't have as strong voice as the strong people from the strong people. So rules are a necessity in an anarchist society, I would say.
Oh, I wouldn't say so, because, I mean, really, anarchism, I mean, of course it depends on the point of view which you have about anarchism a little, but generally to be an anarchist in the first place means that you have to believe that humans are basically good creatures, you know. I mean, the basic belief which you have to have is that humans do not kill each other as soon as you abandon rules. And that's the whole point about anarchism, to abandon rules, you know, to say that people can do whatever they want to, and we don't have to control them all the time and give them all these rules because they don't need them, you know. If they have their bare necessities and everything is being cared of, like food and shelter and all these things, then they would basically not go at each other's throats, you know. So rules are generally have always been a tool of oppression. From an anarchist point of view, it's really anarchism is, to me, really is the absence of rules.
Sorry, I have to say one more sentence. I don't think so, because for me it sounds like turning away from reality when I believe in this, when I believe every human is a good person, because I think that's not the question if one person is good or not. If a human is loveful or not. The question is, how is the system working? And it's not good. And yeah, there are many ways to face it and to take another way. And one of the things is make rules to banish all the other rules. Human rights are not bad because they are rules. I don't think so.
Well, then you're a Democrat. I don't know. I mean, democracy is a different thing. Than I don't believe in democracy because it apparently doesn't work very well. So, or it only works for a certain minority of people who profit from it. But so. I wouldn't say so. I mean, anarchism is really the absence of rules. Well, it's not the total absence of rules, but it's generally the absence of the concept of the relevance of rules. So, anyone else?
I'd like to bring in another point. I think you were one thing totally missing in your analysis of free software, and that's the economic point. Free software, the main thing, in my opinion, is that it's not. It doesn't have something like a worth. It's the software itself. You can just take it, and it doesn't cost money. And that's also the reason why I think the GPL is a very clever thing, because it just doesn't matter if the developer is paid by IBM or whoever, or if he's a hobbyist, because the software itself is free in a sense that everyone can use it, and that it's taken out of economy because it doesn't have a worth. And I think we don't need the GPL at all, but we need it as long as we have a capitalist system where, because of this impact, to protect free software, as long as there are companies out there who could take it else.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a point, but you have to see that all these things that we have seen these attitudes in other parts of history as well, and that this is sort of a compromising attitude. And this, I don't want to draw such a very big connection, but for instance, this the dictatorship of the masses in Soviet communism has never ended, and that was meant to be a compromise as well. And I don't believe that compromises work, because they still try to try to use the same structures and try to